Calzones was originated from Naples, Italy from 1800s. It's really a very old Italian takeaway dish. It's some sort of a folded pizza made from salted bread dough filled with delicious fillings such as ham, anchovies, salami, and different varieties of cheese like mozzarella, ricotta, and pecorino, and many more. It has many varieties in every region here in Italy. A perfect calzone should be nice and crunchy outside, super tasty and super soft, super cheesy inside. Now we all know that tomato sauce is a very essential component of a dish here in Italy. Have you noticed it's almost in every dish? At syempre, isa ito sa ating main ingredients sa ating calzone. Now I'm gonna teach you the best recipe in tomato sauce from scratch for calzone and for pizza. Let's put our pomodoro or yung ating tomatoes. As you can see, kung makikita nyo, buo pa yung ating tomatoes right here. If you can't find tomatoes like this, you can also use a normal tomato sauce that you can find in any supermarket. Now, I'm going to add 1 clove of garlic. Now, let's add our basil leaves. Chef, wala po kaming fresh basil leaves sa bahay. We can also use the dried basil. The secret of a really nice tomato sauce ay nanggagaling doon sa basil leaves. So be generous, it will give a nice sweetness to our tomato sauce. To add one more contrast of taste sa ating tomato sauce, we're gonna add dried oreganos. Of course, hindi mawala ito, it's essential, salt and pepper. To add some nice aroma to our tomato sauce, I'm gonna add a dash of olive oil. But this is optional. Kung wala tayong olive oil sa bahay, it's also fine. It's time to mix. It's very important to mix everything up really well and make sure na walang matira mga buo-buo, especially yung ating garlic. Baka may magtatanong, Chef, ito po ba yung ginagamit natin sa pasta or lasagna? The answer is no, okay? So, itong tomato sauce na ginawa natin today is only for pizza and for calzones. So, for the pizza and calzone, we don't have to cook our tomato sauce. That means, we're gonna use it raw. Kasi maluluto na siya directly doon sa ating oven. Before we move on to our next element, I'm gonna taste our tomato sauce. Wow, it's really good. Hindi pa man, sobrang sarap ng ating tomato sauce. So, alright, so right now, let's go to the next element of our dish. Let's start to make our dough. In one bowl, I'm going to put our 600 ml of water. Let's put 1/3 of our flour. We have to be gentle and really work it out slowly. Let's give it a mix with our spoon. See that? We want this consistency. I will put the last batch of our flour. Tuloy-tuloy lang tayo sa paghalo. So it's a good thing na meron tayong wooden spoon kasi hindi agad natin madudumihan yung ating mga kamay natin, di ba? You can see that it's almost ready kapag nalilinis na natin yung ating bowl. In the middle of our procedure, I'm gonna put our olive oil and our salt. And I'll continue mixing. After it's well incorporated, let's transfer our dough into our table. Just to let it rest for 5 minutes para mas madali natin masahin ang ating dough. It helps na ma-develop yung gluten kapag makapag-rest siya ng kaunti before finishing our process. Kasi ang gluten, yan yung protein ng ating flour. Okay? So, kapag nakapag-rest siya, ma-develop ang ating protein ng ating dough. So, it will be more elastic. Okay? Now, let's work with our gluten. The way we are working on a 60% of hydration. And always remember, we want the right consistency of the dough. Okay, guys? It should not be too wet nor too dry. The trick is to add a little water kung medyo feeling natin is it's too wet. Pwede rin naman na mag-add ng kaunting flour, konting-konti lang, pag ang dough ay too wet. Let's do this movement. Anything too much is bad. That's why we have to know when to stop working with our dough. Saka natin ngayon, bibilugin yung ating dough by doing this circular motion. You can see that? Really nice and elastic. This is the texture that we want for our dough. It's not sticky. It's not too wet. It's not too dry. It's a really nice consistency. Let's put it in one clean bowl. I will just add a little bit of olive oil. Let's put our dough. I'm gonna cover it with some cling wrap to avoid drying our dough. Pag hindi natin siya tinakpan, may tendency na ma-dry out yung ating dough. And let it rest for 24 hours inside our fridge. The reason why we're putting it in the fridge for overnight is that we want to slow down the fermentation process. So ano nga ba yung fermentation process? Ang fermentation is a process where the yeast transforms carbon dioxide into alcohol. While we are in the fermentation process, the yeast creates or releases carbon dioxide. Kung makikita nyo, nagkakaroon siya ng bubbles and it helps our dough to rise. Kapag nag-transform na ito into alcohol, that's the time na magkakaroon ng unique taste ang ating dough. That's why fermenting our dough makes our calzone lighter, tastier, and more digestible. As you can see, ready na yung ating dough after an overnight of resting. And let's see how it looks like. Just be gentle and be careful. Wow! As you can see, nag-double in size na yung ating dough. Look at that, guys. That means successful ang ating levitation or fermentation ng ating dough. So, I'm gonna sprinkle some flour, but not too much kasi ma-absorb ng ating dough yung too much flour. So, we are putting some flour kasi gusto natin na wag lang mag-stick yung ating dough. Let's take out the dough from our bowl. Gagawin natin, maglalagay lang tayo ng harina sa ating mga kamay. And then, slowly on the side, let's do this movement. And unti-unti siyang makakawala doon sa bowl. We have to be very careful and gentle. And so, unti-unti natin siyang tinatanggal doon sa bowl, kung napapansin nyo. While pinapaikot natin yung ating bowl. So, kita nyo yung bubbles, yun yung product ng ating fermentation na nirelease ng ating gluten. Okay? Kaya umalsa yung ating dough. Kapag nagawa na natin yung movement on the sides at medyo natanggal na siya sa bowl, Very easy. Ang gagawin lang natin is itaob lang natin yung ating bowl sa ating table. And then, kusa na siyang malalaglag from the bowl. Alright. Now we have to prepare our panetti. Let's just always sprinkle a little bit of flour para hindi dumikit yung ating palette. Kukuha ngayon tayo ng piece dito sa side na to. This classic Neapolitan style should have 250 grams every panetto. But we'll do a smaller version which is 150 grams, okay? Ito na yung ating portion dough which is 150 grams. Ang gagawin natin ngayon, kailangan bilugin natin siya. So, para gawin yon, from the border, kuhanin lang natin siya and then lagay natin siya or tiklupin natin siya to the center. So, hanggang maikot natin yung ating dough, maka-create tayo ng perfect circle. Let's close it at the bottom. It's very important. Kailangan ang gagawin natin, i-pinch lang natin siya. Okay? Kailangan close yung ating dough. It will help us or it will help the dough to rise. It will strengthen the dough to rise even more. We can now transfer our dough in one tray. Any tray, but we have to put some cling wrap to avoid sticking. I'm gonna sprinkle a little bit of flour, and then I'll put our dough. Let's sprinkle some flour and transfer it into the tray immediately para hindi siya ma-dry. I'll cover it with a cloth, a dry cloth, and then let it rest for at least an hour. And then ready na natin ilagay yung ating fillings. Sino nga ba ang hindi mapapatakam dito sa ating mga Pinoy dishes na talagang ating favorite? Ang ating gagawin ay walang iba kundi ang sisig and laing filling. So, nag-pre-boil na tayo ng pork belly with some bay leaves, garlic, salt, and pepper until na lumambot yung ating pork. And yung ating gagamitin for today ay walang iba kundi liempo. That's my favorite part of the pork. Here's our pork. We boiled it earlier until it's soft. Now we're gonna chop it up while it's hot into small pieces. You can also use some other parts like yung cheeks, you know. Kasi it's quite hard to find meat in Italy, lalo na yung ulo ng baboy. So kaya ito yung ginamit ko for today. But it's a good alternative. Basically, sisig is actually a salad. So ang gagawin natin sa ating dressing is gamit tayo ng 1 lemon. Kung wala kayong lemon, pwedeng lime or pwedeng calamansi. It's even better. Soy sauce, salt, and pepper. And then, meron din tayo, syempre hindi mawawala yung ating onions. In one bowl, let's combine our chopped pork meat, onions, and yung ating dressing. Okay, syempre. So, pagsasama-samahin lang natin siya. So, adjust lang tayo sa salt and pepper lagi. Okay, lagi natin titikman yung ating dish. Pwede rin tayong magdagdag ng chili flakes or chili kung gusto nating mas medyo spicy yung ating sisig. Subukan natin yung ating sisig. I'm excited. Pwede nang pang-ulam. Let's wait for our calzone. I think it would be very, very tasty. For our spinach laing, let's heat up our pan. So, gisahin natin yung garlic, ginger, and then I'm gonna add some onions. I will let it sweat para lalong maging intense yung kanyang lasa. When the aroma has been released from the aromatics, okay, gabi or spinach leaves. And then, lagyan na natin yung ating coconut cream. Na talaga namang magpapasarap doon sa ating laing. Reduce the coconut milk and then we can season it with salt and pepper, or you can also use, which is even better, the fish sauce.
Okay, or yung patis. Okay? So, it will add umami taste doon sa ating laing. Actually, this is not the classic way of cooking the laing, but it is inspired from our laing traditional recipe. Okay? Kasi ang kailangan natin doon sa ating filling is ma-reduce natin siya mabuti and ma-dry out natin yung ating filling. Kasi we don't want moisture doon sa ating calzone kasi magiging masyadong wet yung ating calzone and it will be soggy.
Take our, put it here. We don't have to use rolling pin, but if you feel like, it's also fine. So what we're gonna do is, with our hands, just press it like that. Put it on the other side. So stretch lang natin siya. Ang kaibahan ng calzone sa pizza ay we need to be precise and uniform with the thickness. Kasi sa pizza, nag-iiwan tayo ng mas makapal dito sa ating side. But with calzone, it should be uniform. Okay? It should not be too thin kasi meron tayong ilalagay na filling. So it should be just right. Not too thin, not too thick. We're gonna put our mozzarella cheese at the bottom. Okay? Be generous kasi kailangan maging cheesy ang ating calzone. Okay? So on this side. And then, ngayon, we're gonna use our ham. Okay? You can use any kind of ham. I'm using prosciutto because we are here in Italy. But you can also use any kind of ham you want. So, what we're going to do is, you don't have to cut our ham. Okay? Just put it nicely. Nice. I will add some Parmesan cheese. Syempre, some basil leaves. Put it there. And pepper. Just a touch of olive oil. With the classic calzone, hindi tayo naglalagay ng tomato sauce inside. Okay? So, gagawin natin, stretch lang natin a little bit. And we have to cover the filling. Okay? I'm gonna cover it. Like that. And we have to make sure that maisara nating mabuti ang itong sides. Okay? Let's close very well our border. So we'll do it by pressing it. Hindi tayo naglagay ng decoration sa ating border kasi I want it to be thin. Okay? Kasi pagka naglagay tayo ng fold sa ating borders, okay, tendency is magiging thick siya. And my personal preference, I don't like that. Okay. Now I'm going to put it on our tray with some cling wrap. Okay. Nice. So a half moon talaga ang kanyang shape. Really beautiful. Look at that, guys. Ngayon tayo maglalagay ng tomato sauce. So ang tawag nila ito is veil of tomato sauce. Konti lang yung lalagay natin tomato sauce. We don't want it to be too wet kasi it will remain raw. Kapag masyado tayo naglagay, we can use some brush or yung kutsara, spread out natin yung tomato. Right? It will give a very nice color and sweetness sa ating calzone. Wow! So beautiful! Now, syempre hindi pa natatapos dyan. Lagyan natin ng Parmesan cheese. Be generous. Any cheese will do. And basil for some color. So, reviewin lang natin. Naglagay tayo ng mozzarella cheese and then layer of parma ham or prosciutto. And then, naglagay tayo ng parmigiano or parmesan cheese. And then, nag-crack tayo ng pepper, basil, and dash of olive oil. And on top, naglagay tayo ng tomato sauce para sa kanyang color and additional sweetness and additional taste. And then, konting-konti lang nilagay natin. We don't want it to be too wet kasi magiging hilaw yung ating calzone. Okay? So, and then, naglagay tayo ng parmesan cheese and basil leaves for additional color. I can smell it's really nice. I'm so excited. Bago natin siya i-oven, nag-preheat muna tayo ng ating oven for at least 20 to 30 minutes for 200 degrees. And then, i-oven natin siya for at least 20 minutes. And from there, titingnan natin yung kanyang color kung okay na siya. Okay? Kaibahan sa pizza is, ang pizza, kailangan niya ng higher heat. And mabilis na mabilis lang yung kanyang cooking time. But, with calzone, because naglagay tayo ng filling, kailangan mag-penetrate yung heat doon sa internal ng ating calzone. Otherwise, it will remain raw. And we don't want burnt outer layer and then raw inside. So, kailangan dahan-dahan yung ating pagluluto sa calzone. Okay? Yan yung difference ng pizza and calzone. Sa pizza, higher heat, higher temperature, quicker cooking time. Our sisig calzone. Wow, this is gonna be one of my favorite calzone. So, mozzarella, as usual. Siyempre, yung ating sisig. Kung gusto nyo na spicy, you can also add some chili. Parmesan cheese, some basil leaves, pepper, and let's close it. Now let's prepare our lying calzone. The same thing. Press lang natin siya. Kagaya ng ginawa natin kanina, let's put some mozzarella cheese at the bottom. Then maglalagay tayo ng ating. That's why it's very important na reduce nating mabuti yung ating spinach laing kasi we don't want it too wet. Parmesan cheese. Be generous. Shrimp. I can smell the Philippines with laing. So good. And then now we are ready to close our calzone. As the usual, we need to close it really well on the side. So what I'm gonna do is press it with our hands. Here's our laing and sisig, calzone. Add some tomato sauce. Let's add some Parmesan cheese. And some basil. And it's ready to bake. What we're going to do is prepare tayo ng 4 apples and then thinly slice natin yung ating apple. Of course, bago natin i-slice, balatan muna natin siya kasi we don't want the peel of the apple. Alright? I'm gonna put some cinnamon and it will give a really nice aroma and fragrance to our green apple and it works really well together. Okay, about 1 tablespoon. Let's mix. Wow, I can smell this really nice smell of the cinnamon. Yum. Okay, I'm gonna set this aside and then we can assemble our calzone. With our hands, let's press it like that. Put it on the other side. It should not be too thin. Put some apple, cinnamon. Wow, this is our dessert calzone. Wow. I will put some toasted pistachios. Okay. You can use almonds, you can use peanuts to add some other texture to our dessert. Let's put our Nutella. Close it. Magtatanong kayo, ano po ba ang pwedeng alternative sa Nutella? You can also buy some hazelnut spread, or ang pinakamagandang gawin is mag-melt lang tayo ng chocolate. A normal chocolate bar, whichever you prefer, dark chocolate or milk chocolate. Tunawin lang natin siya sa microwave or sa bain-marie. Okay? Pag natunaw na siya, okay na siya guys. So, ganun kasimple. Of course, the better the quality yung chocolate, mas masarap, di ba? Now it's time to plate our beautiful calzone. And let's start with the classic calzone. It's actually very simple. We are going to cut it into 4 pieces so we can share it with our loved ones. Look how beautiful it is. Nice texture. Nice crispy texture outside. It's really nice. We're gonna serve it with our tomato sauce that we made earlier. It really works well together. Next, we have no other than sisig calzone. Look how beautiful it is, guys. Full of umami flavors. We're gonna do the same thing. Let's cut it into 4 pieces. Next, it's our lying calzone. Let's check our filling. Ooh, look at that, guys. Wonderful. Last but not the least, we have our apple, cinnamon, and Nutella calzone. It's luscious. It's really nice, tangy, and sweet. Wow. Then I'm gonna drizzle some of our melted chocolate. So guys, you can be more creative with presentation and plating.